So you're thinking about getting a bearded dragon. Or, hey, maybe you've already taken the plunge and brought one home. I get it. It can feel like a lot at first. But don't you worry, we're going to break it all down, simplify everything, and get you the absolute must-knows to help your little buddy thrive right from day one.
All right, so meet the star of our show. This is Judo. She's a juvenile bearded dragon, and everything we're going to talk about today is basically seen through her eyes. We're focusing completely on what a young dragon like her needs to get the absolute best start in life.
And let's be real, this is so much more than just setting up a glass box, right? You're basically building a tiny world, a whole ecosystem for this amazing creature. Yeah, it's a big responsibility for sure, but it's also an incredibly cool and fascinating journey to be on. Okay, first things first. Before we get into anything else, we have to talk about the habitat. Seriously, if you get this part right, everything else just kind of falls into place. So forget the fancy decor for a minute. Let's nail down the absolute non-negotiables.
When it comes to the perfect dragon home, I want you to think of 3 main pillars. Number 1, the right temperatures. Number 2, the right light. And number 3, the right enrichment. If you get those 3 things down, you're pretty much golden. So let's dive in and tackle them one by one.
So you might think, okay, I just need to keep the tank warm. But it's actually a little more clever than that. See, bearded dragons are cold-blooded. They can't make their own body heat. So they have to move around to control their temperature. That's why you need to create what's called a temperature gradient. It just means you need a hot side and a cool side. On one end, you'll have a toasty basking spot, somewhere between 95 and 105 degrees Fahrenheit. That's where they'll hang out to warm up and digest their food. Then the other side of the tank needs to be a cooler zone, say 75 to 85 degrees, so they can chill out when they need to. This isn't just a nice to have, folks. It's absolutely vital for their health.
Next up, lighting. And look, we're not just talking about any old light bulb to make the tank look pretty. We're talking about UVB. The best way to think about it is like bottled sunshine. It's the substitute for that intense Australian sun their bodies evolved under. Here's why it's so critical. Without this specific kind of light, your dragon literally cannot process calcium. Doesn't matter how much you give them in their food. And that leads to a really awful condition called metabolic bone disease. So please hear me on this. UVB light is not decoration. It is a medical necessity.
Okay, so how do you get this right? It's pretty straightforward. You're going to want to get a T5 high-output bulb. That's kind of the gold standard right now. You'll place it about 10 to 18 inches away from their basking spot, and you'll want it on a timer for about 10 to 12 hours a day. Easy enough. But here's the part that so many people miss, and it's critical. These bulbs stop putting out UVB long before they actually burn out. So even though it looks like it's working, it's not. You have to replace them every 6 to 12 months. I'm not kidding. Pull out your phone right now and set a recurring calendar reminder. It is that important.
All right, we've built the perfect world. Now, what do we feed the queen of the castle? Fueling a young, growing dragon like Judo is absolutely key. And you gotta know, their diet is totally different from an adult's. Getting this right from the beginning really sets them up for a long, healthy life down the road. For a little one like Judo, you have to think protein. Their diet is heavily skewed towards insects. We're talking like 70% insects and only 30% veggies. I mean, they're basically little protein-burning machines at this age, just building bone and muscle like crazy. Now, this ratio is going to completely flip as they get older, but for now, insects are definitely the main course.
So, what kind of insects are we talking about? Well, things like dubia roaches and crickets are fantastic staples. But, see that note at the bottom? Gut-loaded and dusted. This is super important. Gut-loading just means you feed the bugs nutritious food, like carrots or special insect chow, about 24 hours before you give them to your dragon. Then right before you serve them up, you shake them in a bag with some calcium supplement powder. You're essentially turning the insect into a little nutrient-packed vitamin. It's a game changer. And for their veggies, stick with dark, leafy greens. Think collard greens, mustard greens, that kind of stuff.
You know, even though they're desert animals, hydration is a really big deal. You should always have a shallow dish of clean water available in their tank. Another great little trick is to lightly mist their daily salad with water. And you know what else? A nice, warm bath a few times a week is not only great for hydration, but it can also really help them when it's time to shed their skin. Okay, so we've covered the science, right? The nuts and bolts of keeping them alive and healthy. Now for the really fun part, the relationship. Because let's be honest, you didn't get this pet to just look at it in a box.
This is about building trust, building a bond with a genuinely fascinating little animal.
Think of this slide as your cheat sheet for building trust. The big one is to always approach from the side or the front, never from above. In their world, only scary predators come from the sky. You want to gently slide your hand underneath them, supporting their whole body. Never ever grab them, and especially not by the tail. But the most important thing, learn to read their cues. If they look stressed out or they're trying to get away, just let them go. Short, happy interactions are way better than long, stressful ones.
Remember this, a bored dragon is an unhappy dragon. Their tank shouldn't feel like a cage, it should feel like a jungle gym. So give them stuff to do. Add branches for climbing, maybe some rocks or different textures to explore. And always, always have at least one good hide where they can go to feel completely safe and secure. Oh, and here's a pro tip for you. Try rearranging the stuff in their tank once a month. It keeps things new and exciting for them.
So you've built the world, you're giving them the right fuel, you're building that bond. What now? Well, how do you make sure your little friend stays healthy for the next, 10, 15 years? It really just comes down to having some simple, consistent wellness routines in place.
This checklist right here, this is your recipe for long-term success. Just make it a habit to check in on your dragon every day. Are they active? Are their eyes nice and clear? You'll want to spot clean any messes daily, and then do a full, deep clean of the whole enclosure about once a month. And the last one is huge. Find a good reptile vet before you actually have an emergency. Get that annual checkup on the calendar. Being proactive is how you stop tiny issues from turning into big, scary problems.
And that's really it. That is the blueprint for a happy, thriving bearded dragon. You now know the secrets to getting the heat and light just right, what to feed them, and how to build that amazing bond. You have all the tools you need to build the perfect world for your new little friend. Honestly, the adventure is just getting started.